Welcome to Personal Mastery Training. I'm your host, Alvin Brown, former world class athlete turned entrepreneur and consultant. Join us as we learn from guests who have conquered their inner battles and share their journeys to success. Get ready for inspirational masterclasses and thought provoking strategy sessions to fuel your path to personal mastery. Let's dive in. Hey, everybody, welcome to Personal Mastery Training, the Alliance, where we come together and we chop it up, we serve up the meal, and we give you each individual will give you their flavor, add their flavor into this conversation. No one's right, no one's wrong. We don't know a damn thing, but all we want to do, our outcome is to trigger your thoughts so you don't get. The big belief is that you don't get through your day, you don't get through problems, you don't get through challenges, you get from it. Because when you can stop and introspect and kind of see why you're doing it, why it happened, how, you may never even figure out how it happened or why it happened, because some things there's no why to it. Why did someone get a disease? Why did this happen? Why did a car accident? We don't know. But what can we get from it instead of getting through it? Because stuff will happen again. Trust me on that. But when it happens again and you got from it, you're going to be dealing with it better. So today, uh, who's bringing the main meal? We call it the main meal. And then we're going to add some spice to it. Ray is going to bring Ray Janaktanya. He's going to bring the main meal. So Ray, tell us a little bit about your thought and what you're bringing to the table.
Yes. So pre-podcast, as we always do, we share a good conversation that gets the juices flowing, right? And we all know that if you look at a boat, okay, if you look at a big boat that's been at sea, that's on a mission, a lifelong mission, something's bound to happen. You know, the seas are gonna get a little bit rough sometimes. The seas are gonna get slower sometimes, but holes will form. And as you take care of the boat, the main thing is to make sure that you plug these holes and that there are no days off when it comes to it. So what do I mean by this? Is that we all have holes in our game. Some of us have holes that are simply getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and we don't do nothing about them, right? We don't do anything about them. These holes will come back to bite us. How intentional are we about plugging our holes? How intentional are we about making sure our boat is ready to set sail and perform every single day? This is what I'm bringing to the table, and I'm sending it to the team. Let's talk.
Yeah, this is a great subject as well, because I think that, we talk about personal mastery all the time here, and part of personal mastery is being vigilant about how we can improve on a daily basis, right? And when you improve on a daily basis, at the end of each year, you look back and you can see how far you've come, as an individual, as a human being. And so sometimes we have holes in our game that we're not aware of, right? And they're unconscious to us. So someone, it could be friend or foe, will point those out to us at times. Friend typically will do it very gently, a foe not so gently, right? And it's so easy, if there's someone that we have a disagreement with, or maybe they're not our friend, and they point out a hole in our game, it's easy to dismiss that because, oh, that's not my friend. However, if they point out something, 10 things, and one of them is true, we need to go fix that. We need to look in the mirror and say, you know what, those other 9 things are not accurate, but this one, yeah, I can see I've received feedback on that before, and I need to address it. And we have that type of attitude, always looking to improve it. That spurs us along that journey. And the amazing thing too about other human beings is, when other human beings see you working on yourself, they respect it, because everyone knows it's challenging. Everyone knows how difficult that is. So, they're not looking for perfection, they're looking for progress. When people see you making progress, they're encouraged because you're undertaking something. And then typically they'll come back and encourage you. And so it's an amazing dynamic. And then the outcome of that is you get better and you level up. So with that, I'll pass the mic.
Go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Brandon.
such a good topic, and listening to Ray talk about it and thinking about our earlier conversation where we were getting the water boiling, whereas like Ray said, getting the juices flowing, my brain went a totally different direction in regards to the boat, right?
Perfect.
That if we look at the boat as our life, right? One's life, and what does a boat need? Right? It needs a captain, right? Charlie's over here talking about a friend talking to you. Maybe that's at your first mate, but in regards to those holes, holes are easy to identify a lot of the times, right? However, the captain's going to be so entrenched in everything that's going on, they may not see him. So they're going to need that first mate. They're going to need that friend to say, hey, here's something that's going on. But I want to layer further, and was thinking about, what about the maintenance, right? The rust. What are those things that's going on in your life that either you're engaged in actively or you're moving towards that is going to turn into a hole, right? Maybe our blinders are on. We're so focused on something else, or we're so overwhelmed with so much noise and so much work, personal life, all of it. Do we not see, what's building, that weak spot that's coming? And then something else a boat has to have. What's the point of a boat if it doesn't have direction, right? You got GPS, you got a heading. Where are we as an individual or as a group in some cases too? What's our goal? What are we striving and going and steaming full steam ahead for, right? So those are just some thoughts that I had initially, and I'll pass the mic.
Okay. Brandon just steps in and throws one out. Okay, I see how it's working here. All right. So, Ray brought to the table this idea of the holes in your game. And here's the issue with the holes in people's game. And we all have them. Because, man, there's so many reasons why there'd be holes. Attempting, you pop out of the womb, and depending on your culture, where the hell you were lucky or unlucky to be born, and the family you're born into, there's holes. There's holes. Because there's no life, unfortunately, doesn't have that black and white rule book. And we're gonna go out there and attempt to fit into where it's funny, life doesn't have a rule book. We're attempting to fit into the rule book. Walk down this way, go this way, walk, don't do this, don't do that. Yeah. So I love this wisdom that someone put on me. They said, you can't see the frame of the picture that you're in. See, when you own the frame, when you're in that picture, how are you going to see the frame? Someone else can see it better than you can because they're looking at you. We're all so amazing. Every one of us is so amazing at helping everybody else. Man, we can see everything everyone's do. We turn into the perfect psychologist for everyone. But man, we cannot see our own stuff. I remember taking care of this person who his wife was a PhD and his daughter's working on her PhD. And actually she was when I was working with him. 2 houses filled with PhDs in psychology. And he said they were a hot mess. They were a hot mess. Here we are, the smart, intelligent PhD. You studied it. But he said the 2 of them are a hot mess. So again, you can't see the frame of the picture that you're in. And the goal is there's a fight. There's a fight between the conscious thinking, absolutely brilliant, prefrontal cortex, brilliant decision making, executive functioning, awesome. Let's let's take someone on a diet or working on their meal planning and their diet, okay? They wake up after a good night's sleep. Let's start there perfectly. After a good night's sleep, they wake up and made their meal plan the day before. This is the day. They're gonna do it. They're absolutely gonna do it. They're gonna crush it. They're motivated. Everything's good. But by about 3 p.m., after making decisions all day and being stressed of some kind and really wearing down, now they find themselves going through the Dunkin' Donuts or the Timmy's or wherever you were at, the favorite thing, and they're eating this down their face. It's going down their face because they're a little stressed out, and that's their thing. See, the prefrontal cortex, the conscious mind, starts to wear down. It starts to deplete. Its willpower drops. Now the conscious gets in there, and you can put that in gambling. You can put it in alcohol. You can put that in anything. There's moments when you're strong, but they're fleeting. When the subconscious takes over again, we can all see it in society today. Look at the news. Brilliant people, and you wonder, scratching your head, what are they doing? These acts that they're doing that are not so brilliant. Because there's a fight, there's that line between. So we have to spend a lot of time, but a lot of people don't want to go inside because, again, the demons. Some people, all of us have some kind of demon. So that's why this work is not as easy as we're on here. That's why we make suggestions. The preamble at the beginning was, we don't know the answers, but we just want you to think, because there is no real black and white answer to anything. It's just what works for you, and you just got to keep working it. And Dr. Charlie mentioned the negative and positive feedback from friends and allies and enemies. Sometimes we need that feedback online or in your world from a negative person, because they don't hold anything back. They'll tell you your breath stinks. It's good God, dude, your breath stinks. Um, I was in the gym not long ago working out with this guy. He's an acquaintance. I met him at the gym, and but this guy's pretty straight, man. There's a man in there who needed some deodorant. Let's put it that way. It was very strong. His body odor was very strong, taking up the entire place. So everybody just kind of moved out of the space and didn't say anything. Just whoa, moved out. It was pretty empty around him. This guy, though, said to himself, I'm going to go over and tell him. I'm like, you're not going to tell him that. He goes, yeah, I'm going to tell him. What? He walks over and tells this man that, hey, you need some deodorant, man. It's pretty. And the guy kind of, shocked and finished his thing and left. But if he listened to him, I bet he's put some deodorant on. But what did we do? We left the scene and just didn't say anything. So sometimes those people, you need them. So Brandon mentioned captain, the boat, the captain. Yeah, 100%. And that brought me to Jim Rohn, my favorite guy, who said the set of your sail. What's the set of your sail? Because I love the metaphor that Brandon brought up. The captain of your ship. We're all out on this ocean, and if you don't have a rudder guiding you, you're gonna be just wherever the wind takes you. You woke up today, you're over here. You woke up, but with a rudder and a sense of where you're going, the direction you need to go to, and controlling the sail to wherever the wind blows, you kind of turn the sail, and the sail keeps taking you in that direction where you want to end up. So the set of your sail, where are you setting it? So if I woke up today and the wind blows me, say your trigger is someone who pissed you off, and you say they make me mad. Well, no one makes you mad. You choose. That's a choice to have that control. So if the wind blows east, but I want to go that way, I turn the sail, and I can use it, and it guides me in the direction I want to go. So I love that metaphor of using the holes in that boat. How fast do you go? How long do you go on that ocean? Can you make it to your destination? But you got to plug those holes. You got to plug those holes, or else it'd be a sinking ship. And there's no use using the bucket to dump out water. It's gonna be tiring, right? You got to plug those holes, man. You got to plug those holes. And the rusting inactivity. If you're not have that boat on that water using it, it gets inactive, it gets rusty. It's harder to get that thing going, right? And we become addicted to distractions because with distractions, we don't have to deal with the noise. We don't have to fix the problem, right? So, anyways, this is a deep conversation, but this is the whole concept of mastery, right? Of this training every single day you get up. It's training. The wind is gonna change directions, and it's up to you to change it with it. So, anyways, with that, I'm gonna pass that mic.
I'll
I'm
pick
gonna
up.
pass that.
I'll pick up exactly where you left off, Alvin. The wind is
Take it,
gonna
my
change
brother. Take it, my
direction.
brother. Take it.
Okay, I like that, and I'll take that. I'll also take your first point. I believe you said that you can't not see the frame that you're in. Okay, let's dive into this, guys. Don't get too comfortable because there's always an enemy lurking. Okay, there's always an enemy lurking, and you cannot necessarily see the picture that you're in, which means you need to stay alert. Okay, you need to stay alert. If I'm on that boat and this boat is my life, I cannot be sleepwalking through my life. Okay, I cannot be sleepwalking. I better be awake. You know, there's the ocean, there's the waves, there's sharks, there's all kinds of things, right? There's equipment that breaks down. Am I alert? Do I have a plan? Am I captaining my ship? Just like Brandon said, okay? Am I becoming a person that empowers me or that limits me? Just like Charlie said, you know, being who he is allows him certain things, okay? So when I say that the enemy is lurking, whenever you have a hole, it's an opening. It's an opening to be attacked. All right. It's an opening for that boat to be shot down. And life is truly there, I believe, to strengthen us, to teach us. Sometimes the same challenges, the same things come back in our faces over and over again when we do not learn the lesson, right? Why? Because it wants to teach us, it wants us to grow, it wants us to fulfill our full potential. And in order to do that, the only way is to stay alert every single day. Why? Because you are the one. Okay, you are truly the one. I'll give you an example. There's this show, or it came from this book, The Last Airbender, right? I don't know if you guys heard about it. Great. The Last Airbender. So The Last Airbender was brought into the world with a specific mission, okay, with specific gifts that no one else has. Kind of the same as us, right? We do have our mission, we do have our gifts, and whether he decided for that or not, it's still who he is. Okay, it's still his responsibility. Do you think the enemy cares? Okay, do you think the enemy is not after him, whether he's a child, whether he's hiding? No, right? They're always after him because they understand his power. They understand what he can do. They know what he can become. So the airbender, whether he likes it or not, he has to be the airbender every single day. There's no days off. This is who he is, right? So he needs to be alert when it comes to this. He needs to take that responsibility, and amazing things can happen. But first, he needs to see it. He needs to see when he wakes up every single day that this is who he is. And sometimes there's no confirmation. Okay, there's no confirmation that you can do these great things, that you have this little dream in your heart and that it can happen. Maybe you're in a situation where you don't see any of it, right? But there's also a saying that says, do not look by sight, but by faith. Okay? Do not look by sight, but by faith. First, what do you see? Okay? What is positive that you see about yourself? From there, you need to decide. Okay, Brandon talked about being a captain, and I love that because I need to decide that I'm gonna take that role for my life. Okay, no one else can decide that for me. They can want it for me, but if I don't take the role, it doesn't happen. And in order to decide, you need to focus on what you can control. There are things you cannot control. You might not be ready at this point. That's okay. What can you control to get ready? Who can you be around? What mates can you surround yourself with? Okay, what can you learn every single day? What can you expose yourself to in order to grow? So, right, I talked about seeing, I talked about deciding. Now I want to talk about committing. Okay, committing. Because it's one thing to decide. I can decide today, right? Alvin talked about that guy at the gym. Hey, he can go home, put that deodorant on, and he decided today I'm gonna smell good. But tomorrow he's back at the gym, stinking up the place again, right? So, am I truly committing? Am I preparing? Am I making space for this thing to happen over and over again? And I truly believe that if I do these things consistently over time, I start to believe. I start to believe because I have examples. I have true examples that I'm capable of this. And what happens when you believe? What happens when you do all of this? You become. You become. And then Charlie can show up and say, hey, I'm Dr. Charlie Cartwright. This is what I do. Why? Because he embodies it. He's worked for it. He's seen it. He's committed to it. He decides every single day when he steps out of the house, this is who I'm gonna be. Right. So there is this whole process. But remember, don't get it twisted. The enemy is lurking. The enemy can be different things for everybody, right? And that hole is just allowing that enemy to attack. And what's the worst thing, guys? Imagine this, okay? Imagine this. You're in the forest, okay? You're living your best life, having fun, not being alert, not caring of everything. You know there are bears in the area, but you're not prepared for it. Okay, you're not even looking for it. There's a bear cub walking close to you in the woods. You can't even look. So imagine this enemy is closing in with all the holes that you have in your boat. It's simply closing in and you're totally clueless. You're totally clueless. Is this how you want to live your life? No, right? So let's respect life and what it is enough to understand who we are, understand our power, and understand that we cannot get comfortable because there's also the opposite. And that's what we don't want to hear, is that our biggest challenge is ourself. Maybe our enemy is ourself. Let's be aware of this other voice that's standing right beside you as you listen to this program. Okay, that's standing right beside me as I speak. Let me stay alert of this so I can stay on top, so I can not say today I don't need to. No, it's a day-to-day thing. It's a commitment. It's the good and the bad in all of us. And that's what makes it great, because the greatest warrior is the one who masters himself. And that's personal mastery. So with that, I'll pass the mic.
Great points, Ray. One of the things that came to mind as you were speaking is when we have the opportunity to improve, or somebody, as Alvin pointed out, someone walks up to us and tells us, hey, you've got this issue, someone that's not shy to do it, what do we do with that? And I've thought a lot about this, and it's an interesting thing. Think about this. Whenever we fight or argue to keep our shortcomings, to hang on to them, we win that fight 100% of the time. Whenever we argue for our shortcomings, we get to keep them 100% of the time. Whenever we argue for them. And so it's so interesting that instead of taking that journey of self-mastery, taking that journey to improve this aspect, taking that journey to plug this hole in our boat, we'll argue that, oh, that's not so bad, that that hole needs to be there, and it's kind of a ridiculous argument when you think about, we don't want a hole in our boat, but people argue to keep their hole. And the people that are telling us are understanding that, hey, this will eventually sink you if you don't, shore that up. So we've got to be really careful about not arguing arguing to hang on to our shortcomings, arguing to hang on to our excuses, because 100% of the time, if we do that, we get to keep those, and it's going to hold us back from improving. Another important aspect of this whole conversation too is, Alvin framed it up. We can't see the frame in the picture we're in, right? We can't see it. Other people can see it. The other aspect of this too, is people will come to us and tell us positive things about what they see out there. How do we treat that? A lot of times we ignore that. But when people talk about the negatives, we'll own 100% of that. We could have an enemy point out 10 things and they're just 10 for 10, when really maybe only 2 of those things are truly apply. The other 8 things are just shots. But people will look at all 10 and internalize it. And so it's so important to master ourselves so that we do have an accurate view of self, but also will accept the positivity that people send our way, will accept the positive things that we hear about ourselves, and then take credit for the positive things that we've achieved. And what happens is we tend to give ourselves 100% credit for our shortcomings, the things that are pointed out. We give ourselves 100% credit for that, but then we give ourselves little or no credit for all the great things we do. And we have a lot more positive than negative, everyone, but we will ignore that. So it's so important that when we receive that positive feedback, that we take those things in too, because again, that's going to make our boat stronger as well. So with that, I'll pass the mic.
All right, B. All right, B, I'll jump in ahead of you. All right. So let's begin with Ray. Ray, don't let me see here. Life teaches us, don't get comfortable. The enemy is always lurking. Absolutely. This is the game. The enemy is always, it's almost like an alcoholic, right? You can't say, I went to the class, I did the course, so I'm good now. I'm not. No, you have to always admit that I am, because at any moment, it's there. And it's so, the enemy is always lurking. This is why, let's take athletes. I love metaphors, right? So athletes, if they get injured, this athlete, and they've been doing this since some people have been in their sport since they were 3 years old, shooting the puck or hitting the ball off a tee. They've been doing it since they were 3. You want to tell me it's not rooted in the nervous system? But let them be on the IL for months, and you tell me don't get rust when they get back. Okay, they can't hit that ball. The timing's off, everything's off. So it's always somehow our nervous system seems to draw us back. The mindset seems to draw us back. So they're always lurking. Absolutely. And when we can admit that, see, I can be on here talking all this stuff. Here's the reason why I started this process and started talking all this talk, and because my upbringing, uh, you know, Jamaica, single mom, raised, and coming to a country where I was a minority in that country, a small group, dealing with everything I'm dealing with, life itself, the blah, 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 all of this stuff, my own demons. Yeah, I do this work because I realize after I was saying on the group before we started, after 30 years, I realized that we all have these things. We all have them. I've touched many people physically, mentally, emotionally, and we all have them. So we got to work on them. So it's always there. And Ray, you brought up life is there to teach us. Yes, life is there to teach us. And every lesson, and it sounds cliche and metaphoric, but life is the game. Life is the school, the lesson. And when we don't learn that lesson, see, I don't care if you attempt to, some people say, I don't like change, I don't like change. Listen, if you go and put yourself in a cave and say, I'm not gonna change, no way. Society, I'm not changing. Guess what? You're a bit older than you were last year. That's change. Your body's changed. Your skin is aged. Your this has happened. That change. It's inevitable. So as we go through life, life is gonna come at us and teach us and give us the resources that we need to evolve into that older, wiser person if you choose. Don't have to. So you're gonna have kids, and guess what? They're gonna teach you. So you need skills. You need your own life lessons to maybe give back to them, to not do this, do that. But if we don't do it, we just numb ourselves. We don't give them any lessons, and they continue the same patterns and they go down the same. See, so if we get from life, from our challenges, and we take in the lessons and go, let me journal on that. What happened today? Why did that happen? Why did I go in debt? Why did I do this? Why did I fall to this addiction? And we kind of dive in and journal on it and learn, then we can hand it down to the next one. You see, this is where the wisdom comes because we're all going to be challenged by something. So life is there to teach us because growth and development is inevitable. We can't avoid growing. Sorry. So if you love change and you don't like to hear that, sorry, you can't help it because you're a different person than you were last week. You're a different person. That's called change. It's going to happen to you. So either you're going to become a victim of it or an instrument of it and victor of it. So, and I love this idea of, let me see if I got it right, the airbender, uh, that every single day you can't have a day off, right? This person, this superpower. And I would say this too. The airbender has to be that every single day because with great power comes great responsibility. There is no day off, unfortunately. All right. As this airbender learns and gets better and you harness your superpower, with great power comes great responsibility. And the only enemy ever, ever, ever is ourselves. There is no enemy. Zero. I wish I knew this when I was when I was growing up. I I went to learn pugilistic sports. So I wrestled in high school because I thought I had a weakness. I went from wrestling to martial arts, then from martial arts to boxing, and then from there. So I wanted to learn those things because I thought I wanted to be the baddest man on the planet at the time. I had thought I had a weakness of whatever. Now looking back, man, I wish I knew that the only enemy I needed to defeat was me. That person across from the ring from me also is scared. They also have demons in them that they're running from. They also have stuff. And if I don't care, master me, and I'll guarantee you no one would defeat me. No one would defeat me. But I'm so worried about them. What are they going to do to me? What are they? It tightens you up. Meanwhile, they can't do anything to you unless you shore yourself. You take care of yourself. You prepare. You're completely secure in who you are. It's no different. There's no enemy ever outside. I love it when people say the person cut me off and they made me. What did they make you do? They just cut you off. You chose then. Once you have control over yourself, the one thing I learned from boxing and all the things I did was I have a choice. See, when you get your black belt, and they tell you you're now a weapon. You can't just go out there and unleash. You have to have control. So actually, by getting the black belt, it teaches you how to have control, because now you're not the same level as everybody else, apparently, right? And now you need control. The higher you go up, the more control you have. See that every time you elevate towards mastery, and your eighth dan or your 10th, or you become a master, you get more and more control. They're more calm, cool, and collected. So that's the whole idea, is that. So, and I'll finish with this. Um, Charlie said people argue for their holes. Yeah. Why? Because what I know. I've spent 40 years building this hole, sir. And you want me to give it up, sir? You want me now to show up? And Charlie and I, we talk holes every time we meet. So what am I gonna go up to Charlie now? And what are we gonna do with our coffee? What am I gonna go up to Charlie? Charlie, I'm changed, man. And Charlie says, well, okay. What are we gonna talk about for the next hour? I don't know. Something good. I don't know. So yeah, I'm gonna fight you for it because it's what I know. It's my comfort zone, man. It's my favorite thing I want to talk to you about. I'm a victim, right? So we want me to get rid of that. That's how I built everything I have. I built my whole who I am around that. So, and then the last one I would say here is we count the positive things, as you said, the frame versus the negative things. It's hard though, man. It's hard to, because when you start pointing out what's good about me, shoot, I gotta either be that every day, Tammy, see me. It comes with responsibility. Shoot, I gotta be better than that. What do you expect? So what? Now you expect me to be better every time? I like when you give me the negative thing, man, because then that keeps my ego down. So we tend not to be able to take nice things because it leaves us vulnerable, right? For some reason, that's why we fall in love. I'm sitting watching some, America Got Talent or whatever the variety shows, just to move my mind from negativity. And what do? They go on there and they create a package for the contestant. Oh, well, tell us about your background. They go back and, oh, my mom died of this, and it's like, so we love that. We love that. If someone struggles, we kind of resonate with that. So we kind of hold that story ourselves. So anyways, that's my rendition of my feedback. So Brandon,
Man,
there's something hot coming.
so much stuff. I see that look on Charlie's face. The wheels are turning there too, and Ray's just like, yep,
Yeah, bubbling.
bubbling. That's right. That water's a boiling. So, you talked a couple of things. First, I want to touch on, the athlete analogy, and gets on that IL list, the injured list, and comes, even if it's for a week, right? Just a couple days, and people lose their minds. Here we are talking about personal mastery and self-control. And you think it's the end of the world. It's like, hey, you just need a little rest, right? Let that ankle rest, let that shoulder rest, for a game. It's not the end of the world, but whether it's you've been doing it since you were 3, or you're an adult, and you've been public speaking for 10 years, right? Or all the folks that have come out of COVID, during COVID, they were bored and they're like, hey, I'm going to go do this and become an expert at this, and start this new business. We get entrenched in what we think we are always going to do. We believe that this is what identifies us, and then one speed bump, right? One little injury, one off course move, and it all falls apart in many cases. And I think that, listening to you talk about that athlete, what really came to mind was choice. All of us have mentioned the word choosing quite a bit this morning, and you have to choose what's really going to impact you and drive you, how you're going to react to a situation. The analogy, Charlie was talking about the frame, and people might identify 10 things, or think they see 10 things, and really only 2 apply of the 10. But we choose to hear all 10, right? rather than just really choosing to hear what really matters or what really is the truth of it. And then we're impacted by all 10 for an exponential amount of time. When really it's just two, sometimes those two things are simple and easy, and we just course correct or learn and evolve and engage and uh, move forward, plug the hole, so to speak, right? Kind of grind down the rust, put some Rust-Oleum on there, some rust eater, and stop and put some primer on there, repaint it and call it good and seal it, and we're done, you know? And people, we're not, unfortunately, society, the world we live in, technology, our culture, our upbringing, where we were born into, those around us, our families, we find our, I think people find themselves just accepting it and choosing, well, this is just the way it is, right? The negative talk, I'm always, I have made a concerted effort personally. I'm not perfect. I still struggle with negative thoughts. I still struggle with, latching on to something negative that was said to me and or towards me or about me, and it just eats at me sometimes. But it is by no means, because the personal mastery journey is ever ongoing, right? Dude, I would think we would all agree you never really get to a place to where you're 100% mastered, right?
Mm-mm.
No, it's a continuation of the journey, doesn't end, of personal mastery. And I've made a concerted effort personally, as I was saying, to really focus on the positive, right? And to be grateful in the moment when someone says, hey, thanks for your presentation, or thanks for your message, or thanks for doing this, I appreciate that. And I make sure I communicate that. And that's what I focus on, right?
Mhm.
I don't focus on the folks that were in the room that maybe had that weird look like, what's,
Yeah.
this guy, leaning over and whispering. No, that's just noise that the enemy, Ray, we've all talked about. The enemy is just those are the enemy's ways to distract you, to knock you off course, right? To that gust of wind, so to speak, in the sail to blow you off your heading. Well, are you going to reset? Are you going to counter adjust, right, and come back, or are you just going to get blown off course and just be like, well, it's the way it is? And in so many cases, there was a lot of great things said. I think that commitment's huge. It's hard to commit to something new, easy to commit to what we know, right? Al, you just talked about, yeah, of course I'm gonna protect that hole, right? Shoot, I'm gonna guard that hole. Some people got walls around it, they got
Mhm.
barbed wire fence and moats with,
Yeah.
imaginary sharks, like they're in it to win it. Like, we are gonna protect this status quo, right? That's a choice too. That's also a commitment, right? We're committing. So whether it's subconsciously or knowingly committing to that negativity, we're committing to that whole, we're committing to that act, that thought process. I mean, again, fill in the blank, right? Anybody can do that. I guess my question and challenge for the group and those that be listening to this is, what are you committing to? Are you committing to personal mastery? Are you committing to that evolution of change for the betterment of not just you, but I know we've talked on this discussion before of exponentially how we as one individual touch so many lives, right? So many lives just from a presentation or a meeting. Ray, you talked about last time about the experience level. You may not have experienced something, but because of this group and the friendships and relationships here, you get to experience some things, kind of a pre-experience, right? Before you're actually going to go and do it, at some point in your life, or have that opportunity. What are we committing to truly? Is it just going to be the status quo? Well, it's just the way it is with all these other excuses, or are we gonna enact change and be bold? With that, I'll pass the mic.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's wow. Wow. Um, I wrote down in my 3 pages of notes so far. Um, become a student of the game. Become a student of the game. Yes. Um, Charlie, you will relate to this one. Okay, you will relate to this one. Um, because again, we talked about being alert at first, right? And that the enemy is always lurking. I know you played college ball, but me, I love to do something that's illegal now. You know, the game has changed. It would be called targeting. But whenever we were on special teams or there was an interception, okay, what I would do while everyone's running in every direction, I would spot what I called a tourist, okay? A tourist. So it's someone kind of walking around on the field thinking it's all good, not really looking. I would spot them, but they wouldn't see me. They wouldn't know I spotted them. And usually I would like to find the biggest guy, okay? The biggest guy. And then I did what I call a bubble, right? So I kind of looped around. So they're running. They think no one's around them, but I'm just looping around. Okay. I'm looping around, gaining momentum, and I'm basically timing and having the right angle as I know exactly when I'm going to make contact and he's never going to see me. And I had a lot of fun just finding tourists. That's what I did. Okay. That's what I did. And and I told all my teammates about it, but there was a specific reason why we did that. Okay. It was to break people's will. It was to break people's will. That's the only reason why we did it. Another example, up north, it gets pretty cold by the end of the season. I was born in Cameroon. I'm African. I'm not used to all this cold, but there was one thing that I knew. Once we got on the field, the other team, they were like shivering. You could tell like they didn't want to be there because it was cold. Their fingers hurt. I was in the locker room putting Vaseline on my arm. I don't even know if that works. And I would just get on the field sleeveless, okay, sleeveless, and walk around looking at them. I was cold, but they didn't know I was cold. Okay, they didn't know I was cold. And I was just trying to make eye contact, and I knew we were about to win this game. I knew because they're shivering, they don't want to be there. They look at you, you're excited, you're ready, you're not flinching, even though you're cold, they don't know. Okay, they don't know. So I just wanted to give this example. And I'm going back to my point, becoming a student of the game, it's studying yourself, studying the rules of the game, studying the enemy, understanding which game are you playing right now. There are specific rules to this specific game also that you're playing, right? So you got to prepare. You got to take the time to really look at the intricacies to know how to show up every single day. You don't come in blind to this life. And that's really the question. Are we walking around as tourists in our own life, in our own boat? Okay. Is it a nice cruise ship? And you're really the captain of the cruise ship, but you're walking around in it like you're a tourist, not even understanding, what's going on in your own cruise ship. I wanted to add that because I believe that's so, so, so important. But really, yes, we can look at other people, but it's really looking at ourselves. And every single week, I leave these calls having a deeper perspective. Brandon just talked about commitment again, right? And I'm committed to personal mastery. I'm committed to showing up here every Sunday morning to learn to grow. But if we even look at the details again, and that's okay, but I watched UFC yesterday night because I really wanted to watch UFC. I really wanted to watch it. But then I went to bed around like 1:45, 2 p.m. 1:45, 2 p.m. And that's okay. That's a choice. But now it's just putting it in my face again, and that's a good thing. There are levels to commitment. So it's one thing to be committed, but there are levels to this also. So the first thing I told myself as I was talking to my wife, even before the call today, I was like, you know what? I really enjoy watching UFC and these events, but I'm gonna stop watching these events. I'll watch the highlights afterwards the next day because I believe in prioritizing my sleep more than enjoying that UFC event, knowing that I'll get to sleep at 2 a.m. Right? So that's another thing. And last example again, just watching football. To be honest, guys, I haven't watched a football game unless it was because it's a kid that I mentor or I was with my son for easily the past 5, 6 years. And the only reason is I remember when my son was about 8 months old, I had my routine. I was watching Thursday night football, Sunday football, sitting down on the couch, excited to watch it. But then I looked by my side and I was looking at my son. And then I looked at the game. I looked at my son again. I looked at the game. And I'm like, it doesn't make any sense that I'm sitting out here 3, 4 hours on a Sunday doing this when my son is right there and I can be with him. That was a choice for me. Right. So how committed are we? How committed are we to studying? There are levels to this also. And with that, I'll pass the mic.
Hey, appreciate you sharing that football story. There's just so many stories, and you can't have all of them front of mind. So it was a great reminder, brought back some good memories because I was a defender in football and college, and I was a headhunter. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And same thing, I had this philosophy, and I didn't, it wasn't mine. I didn't originate the philosophy. I read it. I remember reading it in a magazine from like a professional football player that I followed. He said it was Jack Lambert. He said he felt like it's his job to hit somebody on every play. And so sometimes, the play goes away from you, and I'm like, man, I'm not gonna get over there. It looks like they're getting them down. So then I'm looking around for somebody to hit, right? To let them know. And the whole purpose is, as you said, to break their will, right? At some point in that game. Now that's when you have great games when they can't break your will and you can't break their will. And those are the game of the century. Those are the best game in 10 years when that happens, right? But typically it doesn't happen because one team gets broken, right? And we think about personal mastery. I remember listening to a speech that Nick Saban gave to his team when he was still coaching Alabama. And it was in the preseason. And he said, what does it take to break you? Right? What does it take to break you? And part of personal mastery and really being the best you can be is not being broken, refusing to be broken, and to overcome the obstacles that get put in your way. And one of the things that, those principles in football was, and like you said, it's illegal now. You can't do that because they're trying to cut down on the injuries and things like that. But you're supposed to keep your head on a swivel. You're supposed to be paying attention, and so I was always paying attention, right? Somebody try to peel back.
Because
Right? They try to peel back on me, they're gonna get a surprise now. Because I'm gonna come in there with that shoulder and bam, it's gonna be a collision there. And then, it's all good. So we definitely, I think when it comes to our personal mastery, keeping our head on a swivel so that we see obstacles, we see challenges coming if we're paying attention. But if we're not paying attention, then it's a lot easier for challenges and obstacles to take us off our feet, to knock us down. And you always hear in boxing, the punch that people get knocked down by is one they didn't see coming, right? And it takes them off their feet. So we really got to be diligent about paying attention. And part of the personal mastery is paying attention to your surroundings and making needed adjustments so you can adapt and overcome those surroundings. Or in your case with your son, you're looking and saying, hey, this is a missed opportunity here. And I'm going to change my priorities because this is a missed opportunity having him sitting next to me.
Yeah.
Because the reality is this, and no one likes to think about it, right? But it's a reality. Whether it's a family member, a friend, a coworker, or a neighbor, there's a finite number of conversations you're going to have with that person. We don't know what that number is. Is it 2? Is it 10? Is it 20? Is it 200? Whatever that number is, we need to maximize that time, right? And not take for granted that that time is going to be there tomorrow, because we don't know. Tomorrow's not promised to any of us. So when you put it into that type of perspective, it'll help you get in alignment with what you need to prioritize, what you need to put first. With that, I'll pass the mic.
If you don't mind, I'll just say something real quick about time. There's a guy, I don't want to butcher his last name. I know his first name is Jesse. He's married to the owner of Spanx, I believe. Okay. And when he talks about time, guys, it's so important. He says, how many times a year do you see your parents? Let's say. And this guy was saying, oh, I see them once a year. But then he told him, well, you don't have 15 more years to see them. You have 15 more times. Okay. 15 more times. This is finite. And sometimes we forget to see it that way. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah. All right. Just wanted to add that. I like that. Just wanted to drop a little bomb and then I'm going to take off, right? Yeah. Just wanted to add that. So, Brandon asked an important question that I think he threw it at us on the call and he threw it at the listeners. What are you committed to? Was the question. And I'm going to just say, I don't have to tell you what I'm committed to. You can just look at my life. I can give you lip service. Brandon, I'm committed to servicing my industry, my neighborhood. I'm taking care of the poor and giving every Sunday. Jesus, I'm committed to Jesus. I am, right? Okay, I can talk my talk. I'm committed to my family, health, wellness. Yes, what are the top 5? Let me Google them and tell you what I'm committed to, and they're all good stuff. I'm a good human. But Brandon goes, let me come check you. Let me hang out with you for a bit. Then I know what you're committed to. So, what are you committed to? When I look at your calendar, is fitness in your calendar? Is your family in your calendar? And whatever that is, whatever your daily habits, I can tell what you're committed to. So I don't even have to answer that question. I just have to get you to hang out with me for a little bit, and you'll find out what I'm committed to. So, so talk is cheap, right? So you can tell by your results that you're getting, what you're committed to. And then Ray was talking about becoming a student of the game. Unfortunately, you have no options. Philosophically, it's the illusion of choice. That you have a choice not to be a student. Guess what? You do not, because you're learning something, whether you choose to or wake up to it or not. You are a student automatically when you popped out of that little womb. Boom, the lessons began. The class began, and you had no other option. So it's illusion of choice that I won't be a student. So we might as well be actively students or let the lessons come at us passively for years and decades, or we can be completely, and this is leading me to remember when I was in high school. I had no role model in high school. I'm just gonna say that right now. So I didn't think I would go beyond high school. My goal in high school, here's my goal. Don't go to summer school. What is the bare minimum I needed to not go to summer school? Because I ain't doing summer school, man. Right? That's it. That was the goal. Nobody beyond before me went on to university and became a P. No, nope. Got out, we got jobs. So that was my goal. So I was a passive student. What did I need to pass? Some people were active students. They went home and did the homework. They studied. They showed up in class and wrote notes. I'm like, what is that? You see? So I end up with a low 50s. But that's what I wanted. I wanted low 50s. I just wanted that prevented me from going to summer school. I had my summer. I didn't have to bother with this stuff. But I was passive. Some were active, then they got 90s. Awesome. So that's life, I did my first part of my life being passive. So I got the results of that. Mid 50s, mid to low 50s. And then I wrote here, fatigue makes cowards of us all. The minute Ray, you said you came out, you saw these people, they're shivering, they were already they were checking out. Fatigue. It makes cowards of us all. We start to run back to you greased up, you played mind games with them. And by the way, when you mentioned that whole idea of circling and getting the pedestrian or the tourist,
Yeah.
I saw Charlie twitch a little bit. Something happened. I don't know what happened. I think you sent him back. There's a little bit of twitch or something going on. Brandon, anyways. So yeah, are we getting lined up by somebody? All right, every day, right? Are we getting lined up in some way by someone who sees us as a pedestrian? And that's those people who walk around and say, "Oh, they did this to me. They did this to me. This happened to me, and I got ripped off again, and so on and so on." So, those are the big things I want to share with you. Brandon asked a big question. What are you committed to? Easy answer. What shows up consistently? So, with that, I'll pass that back right to y'all. And maybe the meal is now cooked. What if anybody else have a little spice to add to this meal, or we cooked this one up right? All right, we cooked it up right. So talk to me. When we talked to 3 pages, 4 pages. I've got tons here myself on my computer here. A ton. What are we leaving with? What's out of all of the meal, what part of the meal do you really savor?
I think for me, I can't remember who said it. I think it was you actually, Alvin, that said, when people get challenged sometimes with their paradigm, their paradigm gets challenged, their mindset gets challenged. They fight back because hey, they spent years building that.
Mm-hmm.
They built this fortress. It could be a fortress of protection around themselves, right? They don't want to get harmed, so they're putting all these walls and barriers up. And then when you bring it to their attention that hey, that's really holding them back, yeah, you're keeping the negative out, but you're also keeping all the positive people that want to be a part of your life out. Well, it's gonna, what the epiphany I got is it's gonna take them time to tear that building down.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the other thing: even if they blow it up, there's all that rubble. Now they got to remove that. Either way, there's a big time commitment. So, when you said this before, Ray, when Alvin, when people decide to make a change, they decide, so they're changed and they're on that course, but it takes time. Look at all that rubble. They got to sift through there and get this away. Oh, that's still useful. I can keep that's a nice picture. I'm gonna keep that over here. But it takes time, and as friends, as family members, we need to be patient with people in their, in their deconstruction process sometimes, as well as their construction process.
Yeah, so Charlie didn't just end the conversation. I mean, it's an extremely important point. I think we need to focus on for just a few minutes. Time is critical, and everyone, whether it's self-reflection or you're that friend pointing out to someone else, you have to take into consideration how long did it take them to get to where they're at. The analogy of having that fortress around there and it's trying to protect them. Sometimes that fortress is hurting them and they don't even know it, right? They think it's keeping everything else out from hurting them, but it itself, what they're dealing with, obviously, right, is hurting them. So when you come to someone or there's a conversation to be had to say, hey, this is holding you back, my friend, right? Or loved one or whoever it is, you have to come with compassion and understand that. But the time comment or statement, it is going to take sometimes as much time to rebuild or tear down and rebuild that fortress, right? Or if you just blow it up, right, and it just crumbles, to remove that debris, there's all kinds of junk in there and hazards with removing that debris, if you will, that has to be addressed. So time, I think it's extremely important to be cognizant of the fact that it is going to take change takes time, but we live in this world, instant gratification. I can type in something, boom, I got an answer. Boom, I know what to do. I'm now an expert thanks to YouTube University, right? That's not it is a false reality. It is not reality of how it really works. So I'm sure there's aspects that it can be true that it does, but in the grand scheme of things, I believe in personal mastery, right? I mean, how long did it take to just get to where each one of us are in our lives today? I'm 40, I'll be 42 here in a couple of months. And it has taken a long time to get to where I'm at today, right? And where I want to go is going to take just as long, right?
Amen.
There's going to be little levels. You're going to level up from time to time, but it's going to take time. So, Charlie, I appreciate you drawing attention to that, throwing that out there.
We're supposed to be ending the podcast, guys. You just gave me more material, but I'm gonna quickly. Okay, so let's go quickly. Check it out. So Brandon brought up this idea of blowing, or Charlie and Brandon brought up blowing it up. If you blow up your whole self and attempting to completely blow it up, and you cannot, because here's the issue. Let's take not long ago, I was thinking about, when they went into, when the US or wherever goes into a country and they say the Iraq and they blew that up and they take it over in a way and so on and so on. The problem is, even if we got rid of the Taliban was keeping another faction down. So if you take that enemy away, that faction rises. So you almost can't go. And then if you just blow it up and leave, enemy's gone. Peace, right? Drop the mic. We're out. Wait a minute now. You deconstructed our entire society. We have no other resources to kind of, build back. How do we build back? You have to stay. And then help us to construct some communities here again. And the destruction is too much. We can't survive. So sometimes you got to deconstruct a little bit with strategy and take. And anyways, this is a whole other podcast, but we're going to leave it because you guys are. All I wanted to come on here and say is my last word, guys. But come on. They keep pulling me back in. Anyways, here's my one. Put the work in. Put in the work. 4 words. Put in the work. It's training. Brandon said 42 in a few months. 56. Okay? And I'm a child still on this whole journey of learning from you all, learning from me, learning from my own stuff and introspect. I think the game wasn't made for you to figure it out. So just got to keep putting in the work.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I'll go with don't get comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get comfortable.
Love that. I will go with be actively patient. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just sit and wait. Be active, be doing, and be patient while you're doing.
Yeah. I'm going to say boldly commit.
Mm. Okay. All right, man. Just drops boldly commit and says that's it. Okay. Anyways. All right. Cool.
That's
So
a good one.
see how you guys are playing today. All right.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. So that is it for the podcast. What an episode, in my opinion. Powerful episode. Ray, thanks for bringing that meal. I don't know where you shop for that, but you brought some good stuff.
It's you guys.
Is that organic? Is that what is that? Organic stuff? Anyways, yeah. So love that. Love that. Drop the spice. And if any listen, those who are listening, if you enjoy this, if you enjoy us sparking your ideas and nudging you, share this material with someone who needs to know. Let's do our part in a world where we're distracted constantly by so many things today. The hype of so many reasons to get into your head, whether it be the phone in your hand or the politics or the religion or the potential wars going on. There's so much. And if this podcast can be something that you share with somebody that makes them actually just Charlie, I think before we got on, or maybe during the conversation, someone brought up the idea of control, the circle of control. We have to start to focus on what we can control. And the illusion of this idea that watching the news constantly, that you can control that, you can't control what people are doing. So introspection, personal mastery is the game. So if you know somebody who could use this information, let's go. And before I go, we are planning in 2025. We are planning to take this to the next level. We want to affect more lives, so we're gonna collaborate. We're gonna collaborate. We're going to do what we can to reach, impact many people. We're going live. We're going to start doing seminars, and we're going to take the show on the road and bring our powers together to make an impact, to make a difference. So keep an eye on that, and lots coming, lots in store. All right.
Look, Ray bringing the guns out. Oh my
Right,
goodness.
I'm telling you, this brother here just, if you can't see some video, I'm not sure if Ray's got a license, but he just, that thing should be on the lock and key.
Concealed carry permit.
I'm
Man.
telling you, right? Open carry that thing. All right. All right, everybody. We are out. Before we go, though, we're going to send you a little bit of what?
Peace.
Peace. And a whole lot of this.
Love.
Love. And we're going to just give you a little sprinkle of soul, baby.
And
Yeah.
soul.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Until next time. Peace and love, everybody. We're out.